right, let's give Ron a warm welcome applause.
Good morning, guys. So question, do we have any art connoisseurs in the building? You critique art, maybe collect art. You enjoy looking at art. Suspected not. I don't know. I didn't understand. So when I was in college, my freshman year, we had to stay on campus. The freshman year, you had to stay on campus. And for some reason, I was picked of one of 16 guys that had to live in the basement because a new dorm was being built. So they made a makeshift thing in the basement where there were bunk beds, and there were 16 of us down there. And my first thing was, this is going to be miserable. But actually, it was kind of cool because you really get to hang out with 16 guys. One of those guys, his passion was playing chess, and he was an art critic. And I thought, all right, I'm just going to put it on the shelf over there right next to the nuts, and we're going to leave him alone, right? But it was very interesting as I got to know him. And he actually taught us how to critique art. And so there's 4 things that you do when you critique art. Okay, so first thing that you do is you look at a piece of art and you describe it in your own mind. And then you analyze it yourself. What is it saying? Does it speak to me, right? And then you interpret it. How does it apply to me? And then you judge it. It's a great piece of art, it's not a good piece of art or whatever. So go ahead and look at that piece of art that we have on top of your bifold today. If I was to describe this piece of art, I would say this has been my life the last 3 weeks. Right? Here we have a duck who's just trying to sit back. His Coke is about half gone. He's got his sunglasses on. And all of a sudden, when he looks up like, what's that? Somebody's shooting at him, right? So if I were to analyze it, I would say, that's probably a pretty good description of life. Because about the time we want to kick back and take it easy, somebody's shooting at us, right? And then if I was to interpret it, I would say, this thing speaks to me. Because it's where we live a lot as men. We're perpetually opposed. About the time we want to sit back, remember we're studying Job? Here he was, right? His kids was having a birthday. Him and his wife left. They were preparing to do the sacrifice like they always did. The party was still going on one last day, and all of a sudden, he gets the news, and he gets the news, and he gets the news. Boom, 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 boom. And sometimes that'll happen in life. And as we knew, none of that happened without it going through God's fingers first. And so as I judge this little piece of art, I say, wow, this has application. The topic that we're looking at today as we look at the Lord's Prayer is, Our Father, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So wouldn't that go without saying? I mean, why are we praying that? Wouldn't it go without saying that God wouldn't lead us into temptation? Doesn't that go without even praying that? What do you think of when you pray this part of the prayer? This has always been the most confusing part of the Lord's Prayer for me. And I will tell you that this study on the Lord's Prayer has helped me connect some dots in the Lord's Prayer that I never had connected before. And part of me, as I was studying, I was thinking, what's wrong with me? Why did it take me so long to connect these dots? This week I read that John Piper was in his young 60s when he finally connected the pieces to the Lord's Prayer. So let's talk about today what does this prayer mean to us? When we pray it, when we're praying this, what is it that we're praying? Well, we know that we're perpetually opposed, right? We live in a fallen world, and a lot of things can come at us from a lot of different ways. How many people in here have been affected by nature? A tornado, maybe hit your property. When Ryan was no taller than this table, we had a tornado come through our backyard. It came right through our subdivision. It lifted the garage up of the house across the street from us and landed in the street. It came right between our two houses, lifted an oak tree up by the roots, dropped it right next to my house, and then kept going. Right next to where it fell, there was like this. There was a can of nails. I had been doing some work, putting some underdecking on the deck. That was still there. But here the tornado went through. I was like, that's amazing. But we came within a foot of having our house ripped apart, right? How about lightning? Anybody been affected by lightning? Right when we were starting One Thing for Men, we did a thing with Ken Boa. We called it Boa on the Boat and Out of the Box. And so there were 10 of us. In fact, Boa, your father was on the boat. And so we were in a cove on Lake Lanier, and lightning struck on the shore. Well, a lightning bolt came down in the water, went into the water, was looking for something, found a propeller on my boat, came up into the boat, fried absolutely everything. Brian had his hand on a railing, and the lightning started going. We could actually see it. We could see it going like this between the poles. Thankfully, he got his hand off of it. Nobody was hurt. The boat got fixed, but how close are we always to things like that, right? This past spring, my lights were out in my boathouse, so I had Mark come out to the house. I say, Mark, can you see what's going on? So I'm up in the house. He sent me pictures. Why don't you come down here? There was a lightning surge that started a fire in a box, cedar on both sides, and somehow the fire went out. He's like, I can't explain this, except that look at the fire that was in here. That's dry cedar, and it went out. Well, I was going to go down there after the lightning had hit and all that. I didn't know the lights were out, but water was coming up, and the boathouse started flooding. So I was going to go down and lift up the cushions, but I felt some kind of a resistance. So I just said, Sandy, I'm just going to leave it be. The reason I want to do this is because it takes forever to power wash those things. But I said, I'm going to leave some resistance. I'm not going to go down. I'm going to leave it be. Mark told me that I'd gone down there, I would have been fried instantly because there were electrical currents going through that water because of how that thing got disjointed. We're perpetually opposed. We never know what's going on around us, right? How about relationally, socially? Anybody here in conflict with anybody? What are we praying when we say, lead us not in temptation, deliver us from evil? How about health-wise? We're much more aware today about things that are airborne, contaminants in the air, various things that happen. I caught a virus in my eye. I was the first person ever to walk into Mayo Clinic with it. I had rubbed some carpet, the dander got up my eye. I was presenting the carpet, and so I said, hey, I'll be right back. I ran down the restroom, took out my contact, rinsed it in the tap water, put it back in, and the next day my eyes started burning. By the time I got back home, I couldn't even see out of it. Well, I developed something called acanthamoeba, but parasites were in that tap water, and because I had a fresh cut, it entered my eye, and they were eating right through my eye. And amazingly, this is before internet, my wife started researching what to do about it. I was going from doctor to eye doctor to Mayo Clinic, and then I eventually begged them to take my eye out. She discovered something called Kali tea that the Chinese used to use, that you would drink, it would break through the shell of a parasite. So I started washing my eye with it, and it cleared it up in 3 days, which was absolutely amazing. But we're constantly, there's all kinds of things around. I believe, how about traffic, right? What can happen on the road? Anybody been in an accident? Anybody been in a near accident from somebody on a cell phone lately coming over your line? I mean, every day we're faced with danger, right? I believe that this side of heaven we have no idea. But in heaven we're probably going to look back at how many times God dispersed an angel to protect us from something like going down to the boathouse or whatever that is in your life. Go ahead and look at the first verse. As you turn over to page 2, it says, for he will give his angels charge concerning you to guard you in all your ways. We've got angels being dispersed. And sometimes, if you read Daniel, sometimes they're delayed. We may even pray for that, and sometimes they're in the battle being delayed because we have opposed. We have an enemy who wants to take us down. So read what says in Job. However, if I were you, I would appeal to God and lay my cause before him. At the heart of this prayer, and we're going to dive a little bit more into what exactly it means, but at the heart of this prayer, when we're praying, our Father, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. At the heart of this prayer is a cry out for protection. Read Psalm 50, verse 15. Call upon me in the day of trouble, I will deliver you, and you will honor me. We are praying to a delivering God. Read the stories in the Bible. God will continually put us in places where we need him to deliver us so we can rely on him, know who he is, and honor him, and he gets glorified. Think of what happened the very first time. Here God fulfilled the promise and built a nation in Egypt under the protection of the Egyptians. And they were like the sands of the sea. And he sent Moses and said, time to take my people out. And the very first thing he did is he backed them up against the Red Sea with Pharaoh and his army coming at them. They have no weapons. They're going to be slaughtered. And he parts the Red Sea. Impossible situation. But he parts the Red Sea. Why? So he could put in them that he is God. And the whole nation, the whole world talked about the God of Israel and that deliverance. And now that's the really true, that's the one true God. And then when they get 40 years later now are going into the promised land, they have to go up against Jericho. The walls of Jericho, protecting that land. They have no weapons. They aren't trained soldiers. What does he do? Just walk around. Just walk around. And on the last day, take some cans and pedals and bang some noise and watch what happens. And he brings the walls down. Impossible situation. He shows that he's there. Same God that we worship today, operating in the same way. Think of when he put Daniel with Nebuchadnezzar. When he called Nebuchadnezzar to be his man, what did he do? He put Daniel in the court, and Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego. Of course Satan's going to want to take them down. What happens? The fiery furnace. Nebuchadnezzar throws those three guys in the fiery furnace. And Nebuchadnezzar goes, is there a fourth one in there? What am I seeing? Daniel in the lion's den closes the mouth. God delivers Esther for a time such as this, when the Israelites were going to be wiped out. How about Peter in prison? The whole church, this brand new church, realizing that Jesus was actually Savior and that God has a purpose, and we're going to be part of that purpose. Peter's in prison. Let's pray him out. The door's open. Peter walks out, a delivering God. What are you going through that you need deliverance on? The heart in this prayer is, God, our Father, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So that word temptation can be confusing, right? That's where I broke down, was not understanding what it is that we're praying. So don't lose the context of the prayer. There's a rhythm in the Lord's Prayer. Okay, we start out in the Lord's Prayer and we're saying, our Father, we have a relationship with you through Jesus. And it's not just me. All the narcissistic tendencies in me, I'm going to put aside. I'm praying our. I'm not an only child. This is for all of us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. That is the crowning point of this prayer. The reason why we're doing anything, the reason why we're praying is so that your name can be hallowed, so that you can be glorified in my life. Your kingdom come, surrender this. Your will be done on earth as in heaven. Now, give us this day our daily bread. Give us what we need today so that we can be a part of your kingdom coming, so that we can really be behind your will, so that your name can be hallowed. Forgive us as we forgive others, so that you can be hallowed, so that you can be glorified. And now, please, Father, go easy on me. That's what we're praying. Go easy on me. I know I need to learn things. I know as a father, you're going to test. I know you're going to put us in situations where we need to rely on you and realize it's you that's working in my life. I know that. But go easy on me. Don't lead me into something. Think what Jesus did. If there's any other way, take this cup from me. Okay? I know stuff's going to happen. I know there's stuff happening all around. I know. I'll tell you, the application for me in this, sell a house and move a house. How many things can go wrong? I started saying to Ryan, he said, how's it going? I go, the beat goes on. The beat goes on. I just started crying out. That's what I was praying. Father, I know you're testing me. I know there's some crazy stuff going on. Contractors can't be that screwed up. Or maybe they can. I don't know. But it doesn't stop, right? And so what is it? What is it? Because there's a spiritual warfare going on. What is it that God's saying? What's he bringing us through? So that word temptation, the Greek word for it is perissimos. It's a neutral word. In English, temptations or trial is negative, right? That's how we think of it. The real intent, that word is neutral. It can be either one. Best way I can think of describing it, when I was at Mohawk, we would perissimos carpet. We would test carpet. When we test our carpet, the only reason we gave it a test was to prove to the world how great it was, right? So we can put on there. It can stand this many footprints without this much traffic, without matting down. It can take this much soil and come out. That's why we tested the carpet. So we could brag about how good it is so you can be assured when you buy it. Now, when we tested someone else's carpet, what were we doing? Trying to prove that it can't stand up. We were trying to prove that you don't want that carpet. So when God puts us through perissimos, a test, a trial, a temptation, it's to build into us, to build strength into us, to bring us to the next step. When Satan does, he's there to take us down. He's there to destroy us. And I can tell you this, if you pray like this, if you pray this template and use this template and pray the heart of what Jesus is praying here, Father, your kingdom come, hallowed be your name, your will be done. Just give me what I need. Forgive me like I'm going to forgive others. I'll guarantee you're going to be under attack because now you're a dangerous man. If you're living like that, yes, you're going to be in Satan's sight. You're going to be right in his scope, and he's going to do everything he can to sidetrack you, distract you, take you down every way he can. So that's why Jesus said, so pray this, Father, give me a break. Lead me not into temptation. Don't give me anything I can't handle. Well, he does, right? Paul tells us, God put him through things that were more than he could handle. Why? So he could rely on God and realize it was God that was working and that God could be glorified. He won't tempt us above what we are able. God doesn't tempt anyone, but everything goes through God's filter. Realize that. Nothing happens in your life without God saying, okay, remember Job, the scene up in heaven? He says, Satan, where you been? Roaming the earth. You see Job? He honors me, glorifies me. Satan says, yeah, because you spoil him. So they have this conversation, and Satan says, okay, and God says, okay, you can test him this far. Then he comes back, and he says, okay, now you can test him this far. You can't kill him. You touch his body, you can't kill him. I don't think that's not still going on. It's still going on. Look at what Jesus says to Simon. Matthew, that one's actually in Luke, okay? It's written down wrong. It says Matthew, but it's actually in Luke. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift each of you like wheat. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith will not fail, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brother. Satan asks to sift us like wheat sometimes. If you're praying like this, I'll guarantee you, Satan is asking that you be sifted. And God sometimes will allow it. Why? Because testing produces perseverance, which produces character. The verses are right here. The truth is right here. The problem is not many men grab onto this. I have to ask you, when you're going through tough stuff, where do you go? Where do you go with that? Are you cussing? Are you screaming? Are you being ornery at people? Are you thinking about yourself? Or are you realizing, just like it was in school, why does a teacher give you a test? What if you said to the teacher, hey, I don't need the test. I don't need a test, just pass me. I know the stuff. Well, let's find out if you know the stuff, right? I'm going to give you the test. God's going to give us the test so we can know even ourselves where we're at. Realize this, he wants us to be desperate for him. God wants us in our life to be desperate for him, and yes, to pray this every day. Father, go easy on me. Help me to learn it another way if possible. That's why I pray this. Why? Because it hurts, right? It's hurt, it's distractive. God, if there's another way I can learn what you want me to learn next, give me a break. Help me learn it another way. Help me learn it through your word. Help me learn it by my time on your bench. Help me to learn it from other guys around me, hearing their story. Help me to learn it like that. Because yes, you do teach like that. Give me a break. But if I have to go through something, deliver me from the evil one. Help me to come through it. And I know on the other side of it, you'll be glorified. And therefore, I surrender to you. Big concept, guy, really big concept. I observe myself, and I know there's times in my life I kept coming up to the same wall. And then I'd work my way around it, and then God would drop it here. And then I'd work my way around it, and then he would drop it here. And finally, I was like, okay, apparently I need to learn something here. What is it? If you ask that, you will learn it. And maybe you don't have to go through that test anymore. We keep doing stuff to ourselves because we refuse to learn. If you flunk third grade, you got to go through it again, right? And so sometimes we're flunking third grade spiritually, but we're not connecting a dot on that. What is it that you're starting to learn? Pay attention to how you act to trials and temptations, and start with this as a base. Asking God for his help. Ask him to give you a break. Accept what you go through. Now, before we go to the tables, look at James. Consider it pure joy, my brothers, when you encounter trials of various kinds. There's all kinds of things we're going to go through. Why does he say consider it pure joy? The pain is not joy. If whatever trial you're going through, the pain is not joy. The purpose, but knowing that there's a purpose behind it, that's where the joy is. Knowing that we have a God that's so intimately involved in our life that he knows every little piece, and there's an answers for it. And the question is on you, how do you react? What are you surrendering to? What are you praying? God, give me a break. Spare me from some of these trials. Help me to learn it another way. And for those I go to, deliver me from the evil one. I need your help. And I want to do this for your glory. That's what we're praying. All right, let's go to the tables, and we'll be back in a little bit. Guys, let's go ahead and pull it together here. So let me hear from the floor for a little bit. What kind of hits you this morning? Some things you're talking around the table about, or something that maybe you personally is like, wow, this is something I need to be reminded of, or this is something that hit home. Anybody? Tom.
Thanks, Ron. One of the things that just struck me was the Luke verse where Jesus prayed over Simon, and he said, I have prayed for you that you will not fail. And when you have turned back, not if you turn back, he knew the outcome. And then it's leveraged the lesson that you learned through the sifting is share that. You know, when you come out on the other side of your pain, when you come out of the other side of your trial, you're to use that lesson to strengthen your brothers. So whatever's going on at your table is an opportunity to really help elevate their faith in the Word and in life as well.
Excellent, Tom. All right, anybody else? All right, so go ahead and look at the guy next to you and call him a tea bag. Butch is saying it's got bad connotation. Here, what's a tea bag? So if you look at a tea bag, you have no idea how good it is, how strong it is, unless you do what? Unless you stick it in some hot water, right? And that's what God does with us. He'll take us and he'll put us in hot water so we can find out just how good we are, just how strong we are. And what does Paul tell us? We're going to go through suffering because suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character, and character produces hope. So when you're put into hot water, the longer you're in there, the stronger the tea, right? So if you're going through something that's really difficult, you can know that there's a big, big lesson for you in there. Don't manipulate your way around it. Go through it. Go through it praying this. Father, help me through this trial. Deliver me from the evil one. Whatever he's got in mind, help me come through it on the other end. So that, as Jesus said to Peter, so I can help my brothers later. Keep it in perspective. We're doing all this to hallow his name, for his kingdom to come. How many people have dogs? How many people have big dogs? All right, we've had dogs in our family since our kids were this big. But we've always had small and medium-sized dogs. And I've always looked at guys with a pickup truck and a dog and went, someday, someday. So Sean came over yesterday with his new dog, Gia, a big dog. I'm like, oh, man. So Ryan broke the code in our family, and he got a big dog. He got Coco, a boxer, right? And so I've been amazed watching Coco, and she passed just a couple of weeks ago. But she made a mark, she made a paw print in our family, right? And so this dog was amazing how well it was behaved and trained, and because they sent Coco to training school. Well, I was in Publix parking lot, and I saw it said dog trainer. So I actually asked the guy, I said, how do you train dogs? Because we're getting ready to get another dog. Tell me what you do. So here's what he said. He said, big dogs, here's what we do with a big dog. We'll take a raw piece of meat, and we'll throw it down on the ground. That dog wants that meat, right? Just runs for it and gobbles it up. Now we'll say, put it down, we'll say, heel, sit, heel. And the dog will be like, and if it gets it, they smack it on the nose one time. They go through this process. He said within 2 weeks, a dog will learn that he's way better off listening and not going for that meat because the reward is better for him not doing it. So between now and then, he's going, he wants it so bad, right? So here, the trainer is putting Perissimus in front of that dog, right? A trial, a test, a temptation. Why? To build strength, to build character into that dog. What does the dog learn from doing that? It perseveres. It gains character because it has hope. He knows what's going to happen if he denies himself that. He has hope for what's going to be better. Are you a big dog? Are you a trained big dog? Or are you an untrained big dog? When the meat's thrown in front of you, because Satan's going to throw a raw piece of meat in front of you, are you jumping for the meat because it's instant gratification, or are you holding back? God's going to allow temptation to find out what kind of dog you are. We're all a bunch of tea bags, all right? But let's be one that produces great taste, good aroma, good strength for people around us. Pray this prayer, guys. Pray this prayer every day in desperation. And don't miss the rhythm of the Lord's Prayer. I'll tell you what I've been doing during this series. Every morning in the shower, I'm praying the Lord's Prayer. I avoided praying the Lord's Prayer because I didn't want to do just repetition that was meaningless. I didn't want to babble because I didn't understand the Lord's Prayer. But now that I've caught the rhythm of the Lord's Prayer and how deep it is in terms of how we live our life and what we're living it for, and that there's surrender in there, and it's hallowing his name, and it's getting down to the basics, just what I need. Give me what I need so that I can be part of your plan, so I can further your kingdom. Help me surrender my will. Hallowed be your name. Help me to forgive anybody, not hold anything against anybody. Forgive me. And I have no idea what's going to hit me today. Go easy on me if you can. But deliver me from the evil one for what I have to go through. Pray like that, guys. Start praying the Lord's Prayer. Catch the rhythm of it. Catch the rhythm of it. We'll grow immensely. This is part of us spurring each other on to a closer walk with God, going to Jesus' school of prayer and applying it directly. All right, we are off next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy it with your family. Lead well at the table. Pray well at the table. Speak words of life into your family as you have them gathered around. Be that man, be the leader, be the patriarch of your family. We'll come back the following week and we're going to close down the Lord's Prayer with yours be the glory. All right? See you then.
One Thing for Men meets at Cabernet Steakhouse in Alpharetta, Georgia on Friday mornings from 7 to 8 a.m. If you live in the Atlanta area or visit the area on Friday, we would love to have you join us in person. And if you have been blessed by this message, please consider supporting One Thing for Men online.